Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is the Public Works Podcast. My name is Joseph Blackman. Today, I got a real treat for you. His name is Rusty Nezat, and he is the director of Nezat Consulting. Rusty, say what's up to everybody.
Hey Joe, how you doing, man? Good to have you.
Doing,
Good to be
doing
on.
good. Man. Oh yeah, yeah. Good time, good time. So Rusty and I met at a show in Austin, Texas. I could tell that this guy was passionate about what he was talking about. I could tell he was convicted about what he was talking about, and he was convincing about what he was talking about. So I wanted to have him on the show just to have him talk more about what he was talking about. So Rusty, let's kind of go into a little bit about what Nezat Consulting is and what it does, and then we'll get into the origin story of Rusty.
Okay. Well, what we do is we're a consulting group, training consulting group, and what we do is we typically go into a city, and I'll go out and I'll work with each crew in the field, and I'll analyze their equipment, their processes, how they're cleaning the sewer pipe, their nozzle selections, and their planning and control, their downtime on equipment, everything that affects their production in the course of a day and their safety. And then we'll put a report together that identifies all the issues we found with the units. We have a section there on planning and control, and then we make recommendations for training programs. Now we have some canned programs that we use, but with the city's permission, we'll shoot a little bit of video of them in the field and incorporate it into our 8-hour program. So they get to see themselves and they never know when. So boy, they're just like waiting to see themselves. So it kind of keeps them entertained. And
That's cool.
then we come back in, we take them through our classroom training program, and then I go out in the field and I reinforce what I taught them in the classroom, because I'm going to teach them some things that they never seen before. And they'll be like, well, I don't know if that's going to work. I say, here, let me show you. And then after I show them that the pipe can be cleaned quicker than what they're doing, they're like, oh wow, yeah, okay. Because when you got somebody that's been doing it for 30 years, it's kind of hard to convince them there's a better way, maybe.
Oh,
And so once I show
yeah.
them, they're like, wow, that was quick. I say, yeah, let's do it again. And so we take them through the field training, and then pretty much come back again next year and do it all over again.
Wow, I love it how you're out in the field with the guys. This isn't theory. This isn't some white paper or textbook that you say, I know how to clean sewers and I do this better than everybody. Learn my way. You're actually out there with the guys, getting sprayed, got your orange vest and your hat on. You're out there with the guys. Where did you get all this knowledge from? Was young 8-year-old Rusty out there cleaning sewer pipes?
Well, no, 13-year-old. I went my first manhole when I was 13. My dad was a sewer guy his entire life. And he dropped me in a manhole when I was 13 years old. I'm down looking on the bench. There was a big old brown turd down there. I said,
Wow.
hey, it's a poop down here. He said, just kick it off in the water. I ain't touching that. I ain't getting that on my boot. So he dropped me down a stick. He said, here, rake it off. You're talking too much. You got to go to work. We were doing some grouting. He said, knock it off. So I did, and that's how I got my start in the sewer industry with my dad. So I worked with him for many years, and I went on to work for In Situ Farm. And when I was with In Situ Farm, we were able to do a lot of research and development in pipe cleaning. They actually sent us to a course called Continuous Improvement Process. They sent me there, and I came back and said, we can clean sewer better than we're doing. They said, how can you do that? I said, I'm going to set up a pipe above ground, and I'm like 100 and something feet of pipe, 15-inch pipe. I coated the inside with sand and grit with the plastic glue, made it rough, cut the tops of the pipe out, took every nozzle that was on the market and stuck it in this pipe half full of sand, and set camera systems up. So I'm watching this nozzle going through and going, whoa, this thing has a carrying capacity. It can only move so many cubic feet of material. And once we trained our people within situ form, our daily production doubled in 2 weeks. In 2 weeks, those guys had doubled their daily production rates, because now we had it to a science. It wasn't you pull it out, you clean, you put the camera in. If you use my matrix, and when you went all the way through, when you got to the upstream manhole, you could put your camera in. 99% of the time, it would be spotless. If you're in situ form, that was very important, because you cannot put a liner in a pipe that is not completely free of debris. You can't do that.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's how we came up with this information. And then I was fortunate they put me with a guy by the name of Larry Jordan, who was a nuclear engineer for the submarines. He was a trainer for the military for years, and they put me with him, and he basically gleaned all the information that I had acquired and showed me how to develop training programs that the military uses. And so we've used that basis of that type of training in our program. So everything we do is modularized. We start off with one module, the next module builds on that, and they keep building and building and building and expanding that knowledge base.
Okay. So what are you seeing? What are you seeing out there in the field in regards to workforce development, the knowledge transfer? There's guys who are 50 or they've been in the industry for 20, 25, 30 years, and they're retiring in droves. And then you got these Gen Zers or the youngsters are coming into the industry and they don't quite know exactly what 13-year-old Rusty knew, coming into the industry. So what are you seeing out there that's working in regards to transferring that knowledge and closing that knowledge gap?
So, Joe, what I see coming is that a lot of the knowledge, well, some of the knowledge that these older people had, the older gentlemen had, it was not good knowledge. And I always teach my people, I said, just because you believe something doesn't make it true. And I always tell them that right up front when they go through my program, because they're going to see some things that's going to challenge them. And I'll say, so just for instance, I went out to do an evaluation for a contractor, and I walked up to the truck and I said, okay, hey, how's your truck operating? I always ask questions. Well, I got really low water pressure. I said, well, let's look at your nozzle. Let's work our throw. He goes, brand new nozzle. I said, okay, cool. Fire it up. Let's see what it's doing. So it only had like 1,200 PSI. So I walk around the truck. I could hear, I thought, ooh, I see some water running. Just walk around the truck, and the caps on top of the triplex pump, the O-rings were bad, and it was spraying water all over the place. So most of his water was coming out of the pump and not getting to the nozzle. So I walked back around. I shut the truck down. He's from Louisiana. His name was Boudreaux. True story. Now I'm from Louisiana too. My real name is Malvin Arsan Nezat II. So I can talk smack about them Cajuns. And I said, man, I said, do you know that the water's spraying out of your pump? I said, it's leaking. He goes, oh yeah, you mean that water spraying out of the top? I said, yeah. I go, that's a problem. He goes, no, that's not a problem, man. I said, why is it not a problem? He said, well, the other operator told me that pump was designed to do that, spray water out of it to keep it cool.
Wow.
I said, come on, man. He said, no, it's supposed to do that, Rusty. I assure you. I said, no, that's bad. So he took his truck in, put new O-rings in. Next day, the pressure was all the way up. He was like, oh, I guess all that water's supposed to be coming out my nozzle. Yeah. So that's part of our knowledge transfer issue, is that they didn't have good knowledge to transfer. Now, the other issue we have is that nowhere in the world am I aware of that you can go and get properly trained on nozzle usage, the dangers of high pressure. You cannot find it. I have cities that call me all the time and say, can you come train? I go, yeah, here's what it's going to cost you. And they go, well, we have to put it out for bid. I said, well, go find another vendor that can do this. They always call me up and they said, just send us a sole source letter, Rusty. We cannot find anyone. So they didn't sole sources. So with that being said, there was never a lot of training given to the sewer guys. Now, come on, Joe, follow me on this. Who grew up wanting to be a sewer cleaner? Nobody.
Right. Yeah.
I have talked to thousands of operators around the country, and I always ask my classes, when you were little, did you ask your mom and dad for one of those little combination machines for Christmas so you could build you some manholes out in the front yard and drive around, act like you were sucking some poop out? They all go, no, man. Never. I said, but you got in this industry somehow, and you like doing what you do. They go, yeah, we do. I said, that's good, and I appreciate and I thank you for what you do, because not everybody wants to do that. Because at the end of the day, after jetting all that poop, 2,000 PSI, crap flying everywhere, you walk away from work smelling like a human turd. And we don't really appreciate the people that do that. But without those people maintaining those collection systems, getting that poop down the line to the treatment plant, we'd have no civilization. So I call them dung beetles. I got tired of turd herds and all that. Now they're dung beetles. They roll the poop. They keep the poop moving.
Yeah.
So we actually have stickers now. We have dung beetle stickers, hard hat stickers. It's got a dung beetle pushing a dung ball. It says Guru Poo Poo on it. They can put it on their hat. I'll send you one, Joe.
Love it. But no, I mean, I would agree with you. I see the same thing out there. There's an influx of guys who know everything, right? Whether it's good information or bad information. But I will say that the younger generation, we're curious. We want to know what you guys know. And sometimes you could tell that the older generation, they just want to hold on to the keys, and I guess your job is more secure when you know everything when everybody else doesn't. So and that's kind of why I started to scratch the problem that I wanted to scratch, was I wanted to get the knowledge from the people who have it to the people who need it. And it's interesting to hear that you're experiencing the same thing out there, is that there's guys that have information, there's guys that don't have information. And it's
Right.
interesting how much, or how cities try to not avoid, but how it's hard for them to write a check to get that information transferred. So
Yeah.
thanks for responding on that.
Yeah. And a couple of things in play. They don't really, well, as I traveled this last year, I've talked to some large cities that said, we're going to lose 50% of our workforce. Our people are retiring in the next 2 years. We don't know what we're going to do. Can you come train our people? I said, listen, you're so far beyond that curve. My training would be helpful, but you lost all that information when you didn't gather it from those people. You should have gleaned that. You should have did something. They go, well, we didn't know. And so they're really in a very hard spot, terrible hard
Yeah,
spot,
yeah.
because the
That's a
knowledge
tough one.
base is just not there.
That's a tough one. So I always like to ask a question about skill sets. You're a consultant now, which means you've been through it, you've done it, you know it. If you had to mentor a youngster coming into the industry and they're fresh out of high school, fresh out of trade school, fresh out of college, they want to get into sewer cleaning. What skill set would you tell them to pick up to be successful at what you're doing today?
I probably wouldn't even go that route first. The first thing I would do is uh, take them out and let them see what they're going to be doing. I get phone calls from a lot of cities that say, hey, we spent 6 months training these people. And after 6 months, they came in our office and says, we're tired of smelling crap every day. We're done. And they say, we spent a fortune in 6 months trying to train them. So, if you want to get into this industry, you need to go out there and work with some crews in the field and see what they do. You see what it smells like and see if it's something you want to do, because it's not for everybody, and every now and then you find those guys who really enjoy doing it. And those guys are priceless. Those men and women that do that are priceless. But that would probably be my first thing, would be, because there's a variety of things that you can do in the collection system. You can do repairs, you can do rehab, you can do sewer cleaning. And if you want to get your hands dirty, find out what it is that you like to do. Now, we just did a program for the stormwater group for the city of Houston. They're having new people come into the stormwater that know nothing about stormwater. So we put like a 6-part module, 6-part series together that shows them how a stormwater system works. It even starts off with rain. What is rain? We show them what rain is. Why do we have stormwater systems? Because we have rain. And so we take them through the whole project, the whole process, to let them see all the different facets. The TV inspection, the cleaning, the repairs, and we covered that all very well in the program. A lot of live video from in the field. And so now they take their people and they put them in front of that. They go through that, and there's some questions. Answer all the questions so we can see where you might best fit in this group. And that has been very successful. In fact, the director that I put the program together for me, they're sending their people from upstairs in the city of Houston. They're sending them out to their plant to go through the training and be tested. I was like,
Wow.
They're actually coming. He says, dude, he says, now they see the benefit of this type of training. So now they want to start doing that. So they're slowly making the turn and seeing the need for those types of training. But a lot of cities are so far behind the 8 ball, it's going to be hard for them to catch up.
Yeah. All right. So if somebody goes to your website, they see this dinosaur video. Tell us what this dinosaur video is about.
Okay, the dinosaur video about I guess it was about 5 years ago. WEFTech called me up. They were having their big program in Chicago, and they were doing a thing where they were going to bring in, everybody could do a video. And so they called me up and said, hey, can you do a 5-minute video? We hear you have your own production company with green screen technology. Yeah, I got all that cool stuff. They said, so can you build us a knowledge transfer video that's 5 minutes long? I said, yeah. I said, what's the parameters? They said, anything, as long as it's safety related. I said, can I be funny? They said, yeah, we encourage you to be funny. So I went out and got me a big dinosaur head, and I tell the story in the video about how long time ago, back during the dinosaur days, how the dung beetles were down in the valley and the dinosaurs doing a sewer rehab project. And they installed a large sewer plug. Well, the sewer plug blew up, and all the little armored dung beetles come flying out of the sewer and killed all the dinosaurs. They all died. They got hit by flying dung beetles, except for me, because I was down in the storm sewer looking for small rodents to eat. So I was the only survivor. And then I pull my hat off, my head off, and I begin to explain to them and show them some graphic pictures of people who have been injured using pneumatic plugs. Now, no one, thousands of operators I've trained, no one has ever been properly trained on these plugs. Okay, so Joe, let me ask you a question. I'm gonna give you a 30-inch plug, which is very normal. I'm gonna say, go out there and put it in the line and inflate it. Yeah, okay, I can do that. So you inflate that plug, Joe. Do you know how much force is in a 30-inch plug?
No way. No, not at all.
It's 500,000 pounds, 500,000 pounds of force
Gee.
is contained within that plug. If that plug explodes, you die if you're in the manhole. It's not like maybe you would live. Nah. I show pictures in the dinosaur video of an 8-inch plug that blew the guy's face apart. 13 operations later, they put his face back together. Now, he's the only survivor of all my research. He's the only one that's ever survived a plug explosion when he was down the pipe inflating it. All the rest of them died. And they die every year. I even called up OSHA. I said, hey, we have an epidemic of people being killed with pneumatic plugs. I said, I can't find it on your website. I said, it took me 3 days to get through those cats. I said, you're not even talking about it. I said, well, they said, well, that's a job site fatality. That's the way we list it. I said, well, it should be mandatory that some training be provided for these small explosive devices. They said, we're not interested in that, Rusty, and they hung up on me. So I've taken it upon myself now to built this video. We're making it available to everybody. If you go online, watch the 5-minute video, you can click the button and send it to anybody you want. It's not a sales pitch. It's just basically, here's the video, how to use a plug in 5 minutes, and you probably will not die if you've seen this video.
Love it. Love it. So one thing I like about guys like yourself who's passionate about the industry, passionate about getting guys home safe, is that you're still in the trenches learning about what's new and what's innovative out there. So what keeps the fire lit to stay up with the times? I mean, what's your personal and professional development regimen like that keeps you up with what's new, what's innovative, and what's safe?
Well, my motivation is to help these guys in the field, because sewer guys have always been the low man on the totem pole. Usually the people that couldn't do anything else wound up cleaning sewers. So my goal in life, not just for them, but to everybody I come in contact with, is to elevate them to a higher level of knowledge and understanding to better their life. I'm all about bettering everyone's life. Now, my regiment is I stay up to date on all the new articles, all the new technology coming out, and I'm seeing that a lot of the new technology that coming out it's old technology from back when I was 25 years old. It didn't work then, but somebody thought of it and they're going to try it again. I'm like, okay, y'all can try that, but I'm not interested. I already been there, done that. And I learn a lot from the guys in the field when I go out and do evaluations. The first thing I tell them when I get them in my class. Now, when I go out and do when I do classroom training, I don't know how many times this has happened, but the oldest guy there catches me in the back of the room, or catches me in the hall, pulls me off to the side, and he goes, hey, I don't know why the hell I got to sit through your class. I'm like, woo, easy. He says, look, I've been doing this for 35 years, man. I know everything there is to know about this. I said, well, I've been doing it about that long too, but I'm going to tell you right now, I don't know everything about it. I do not. And I hope that you can teach me something today. So if I'm saying something you disagree with, please raise your hand and let's have an open discussion in the class. That's good. That we need open discussions. And once they've gone through my training program, because we show them how the nozzle works in the pipe with live video, without exception, those guys always called me at the end of the class and came up to me and said, I am so sorry that I did that to you. They said, they always say, no one ever showed me what you showed me, because all of our stuff is video based. It's just not me talking with pictures. And they said, I could go out there and clean that 24-inch pipe today that I never could get clean. I could clean that pipe today, Rusty, because I saw what was going on inside that pipe. And so with that, I gleaned from those guys, and when we put our reports together, I'll always include really cool things that other cities are doing around the country that's lowering their sanitary sewer overflows and production issues. And I always incorporate that in my report. So, okay, here's what so-and-so city over here is doing. You might want to look at this, and I'll give them phone numbers. They can contact the city, which are always happy to say, hey, here's what we're doing new with our program, and it's working out well. So that's how we stay on top of it, just by being out there with those guys. Now, we also develop training programs for all the big equipment that's on the market. The Vactors, 900s, Eco 900s. We're developing like one-day programs. Like for one of the combination machines, what we do is we break it down. We'll break the system down to the chassis, vacuum system, high pressure water system, and the hydraulic system. Then we'll take one system and break it into components. Like the vacuum system has approximately 12 components. So we show the operator each one of those components, the maintenance required on each component, and then the switches that operate those components. And then we build those systems back onto the unit. So you can walk around that truck and ask them anything about that truck, and they'll say, this is what this does, and this is the maintenance on it. We did that for the city of Houston for their gap vacs. They were spending $500,000 a year on 10 machines. They were only 2 years old, $500,000. When I came in, I talked with the operators. I said, they just burned up a water pump. So I was in there visiting with them. I said, so did you not know to check the oil in the water pump? And the supervisor says, Rusty, I tell them every month to check the oil in the water pump. I said, is this your training program? This is how you train people? He said, this is how we train people. We just tell them what to do. I said, do you remember him telling you to check the oil in the water pump? He goes, oh, well, I don't remember him telling me that. So you have no recourse. And I realized right then, verbal communication for training does not work. So we went back, we built this platform with testing. We actually put it online. In fact, when they send their new people through it, when they go through each module, they're tested at the end of each module. And if they get the question wrong, it loops them back into the video. So they have to watch that portion of the video again. Now they can't change their answer, because if you go through the entire program and you miss half the questions, I'm going to call you up and go, Joe, you probably don't want to put this guy on this $500,000 machine. You might want to put him on a riding lawnmower out in the field, but don't put him on that machine, because it's going to go bad. And so their maintenance, I talked to them last week. They're down to less than $100,000 a year on maintenance on their units now, because they're not tearing them up. Because now, when we had an incident where a guy burned a water pump up. So he called me and said, how do I approach this, Rusty? I said, call them in, get all your documentation, their manual, their test scores, and sit down with him and ask him where we failed him. Say, where did we fail you? How can we do this better so this never happens again? Where did we go wrong? And he says, on the test, it says you got to check the water pump daily, the oil. It's all in the manual. Here's everything in the manual. And you went through all the videos, everything. He says, where did we fail you? He goes, look, Braxton, he goes, I knew to check the oil. He says, I just don't like getting my arm dirty. When I stick my arm in there, I get oil. He's one of those guys that likes to be clean. I get oil in my arm sometimes. I don't like to do that. He said, well, I'm going to let you go this time, but you have your assistant do it. He says, you put a sleeve on or something, but you're going to check that off. So word got out. There was no way out. You could not crawfish out of this, because they had you. And they haven't tore up anything for almost 2 years now.
Dude, I love it, man. So I used to sell Vector trucks, right? The big, just like what you're talking about. And I could see how, because the reason why I created Vitendo, the platform, the service, and the software, was because of that same deal. You would deliver a $500,000 piece of equipment. I would come out, bring the donuts, and all the suits would be out there taking pictures, and everybody's happy, right?
Everybody's happy.
You do a walk around and show everybody everything on the truck, and then you would come out. I'd come out a week later after they got it in service, and we'd do a full day out in the field. I'm showing everybody everything on the truck, but then 2 weeks later, they forgot everything I showed them. And stuff goes right out. I get it. You're busy. You're working. It's kind of hard to know like what this button or what this valve does.
Oh,
absolutely. Guy showed me. So I mean, why? I guess my rhetorical question is, you don't have to answer, but why isn't Rusty busy as all get out? Service in every city in America, because I would think every city has this type of issue where they have a piece of equipment. Either they're not using it to its full capacity because they don't know the extra delta on the operation side, or they're not servicing it right. Why aren't you super duper busy running all around the country losing your hair?
That's the problem. I am. In fact, that's why we started our production company, because I have so many requests to travel. Man, I just got back from Guam. I went and spent a month on Guam and doing evaluations and training for their people. And so there's not enough of me to go around, and you can't hire people to do what I do because you don't have that knowledge base. I mean, I went into that city of Seattle. I went in, and and everyone asked me, said, well, look, you can train me to do this. I said, listen, it's not like that. If you don't have the right answer, you're going to have problems. Well, you can teach me. I said, man, it's taken me 30, 40 years to acquire all this knowledge. So like when I went to Seattle, I had 30 people in the room. There was one really old guy. He was 100 years old. He was sitting in the back of the room with his feet propped up on the table, leaning back. So I walk in, and he raised his hand and said, yes, sir. He says, you mind if I ask you a couple of questions before we get started? I said, it's not a problem. Go ahead and ask away. So he gave me about 10 questions, and I had the answers for him, and they were right answers. And so he pulls his seat down. He looks forward. He goes, and I can't say it on live. He says, this son of a, he knows what he's talking about. Y'all go ahead and listen to this guy. He knows what he's talking about. And that was it. But if he had said, that'd have been it. They'd all turned me off, and they would not have had anything.
Yeah.
They would not listen to anything. That's why I can't duplicate me like that. So what we're doing is we have all of our training programs. They're online now. So in our learning center. So if people want to go into we can put them into our programs, and they're all modularized. So you can take a week or two to go through them. It's like 9 different modules. It's a full day of training with testing. So I can put the people into that and, send them through that type of training like that. And then we do live Zooms once a month. Every month we have a live Zoom. We do it through Back Municipal. You may be familiar with Back Municipal. He offers a lot of different training. So they kind of picked us up and they said, hey, we want to offer you through our program. I said, sure, go ahead and throw us in there. And so once a month I just show up for work that morning, turn the camera on and go to it. and so the evaluation is what really consumes a lot of my time, is going out in the field and doing the evaluations, which there's not really a way around that, because most of the guys don't understand the equipment well enough to evaluate it themselves. I get there and the stuff's broke. Used to, I didn't do evaluations, but I would get there to do training and I go, hey, your machine's broke. Oh no, it's been like this for 3 years. I said, you can't operate it like this. So I'd spend a whole week working with the mechanics repairing the truck, and the guys didn't get any field training. So after a year of that, I said, no, I got to start doing evaluations. So I'll give you a report. You fix all your stuff, get the nozzles I tell you to get, and then I'll come back. By the way, we don't sell any products at all, but we do make recommendations, because I have a lot of people send me stuff to try out. I try it out and I'll send it back to him and say, no, I would not put this on a dung beetle. no. And if it's good, I'll go like, well, this is good. Yeah, I would recommend this product.
Gotcha. I'm glad to hear that you're busy. I'm glad to hear that cities and departments are taking advantage of what the services you're offering, because
they never really knew we were out here has been the big problem, because no one's ever done it. And so when they hear what's happened to me is, when we hear training, they go, oh yeah, we know, because they have Vector guys come in and other different guys come in. They take them through a little PowerPoint, and you know how that works. And then nozzle guys come in, they take them through a little PowerPoint, and the nozzle guys, all their nozzles are the best nozzles
of course,
because they sell them. And I don't sell them, so I can say that is not a good nozzle. Do not spend your money on that nozzle. In fact, that whole tier system is a crock of poop.
I mean, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3.
Yes, the dynamics they claim is behind that is not real. I kind of been quiet about it, but I'm getting really tired of people spending so much money on nozzles because of their configuration, when I can do the same exact thing with a spray system orifice. You put a spray system orifice in any nozzle. If it's a hollow head, it doesn't matter. It will outperform anything that's on the market. And I got some stuff to prove that, but I'm not trying to pick a fight with anybody. But why spend $30,000 on a nozzle when you can get the same nozzle for $3,000 that'll do the exact same thing if you put the proper orifices in it? Yeah, that's a whole nother program there. They know where I live, Joe. They come get me.
Yeah. You're stepping into it now. All right. Let's say I talked to somebody who knew Rusty, but they didn't work with you. What would you say is something that people get wrong about what you offer or what you provide for the community?
Well, what they usually get wrong is, like I said, they think that we just offer like a PowerPoint program. So what we do now is, I used to travel the country making my sales pitch, so to speak, to the cities, which is very expensive. But when COVID came, Zoom became very acceptable. So we have our studio, Dung Beetle Studios, so I can go in there and I can set up all my videos. And so if a city's interested, I'll just do a live Zoom. I said, bring all your people, squeeze them in that little room, and let's watch some video. And typically it blows them away. They're like, wow, you're not like in the screen. I go, no, this is how we do it. And so we take them, I answer all their questions. I show them whatever videos they want to see. And without fail, for the most part, they usually give me a job. They say, look, we want to put our people in your training program. We've never seen anything like this. In fact, we just did SAWS. That's the San Antonio Water Group. We did all their people. We had 200 or 300 people we took through. And the last day I had all their superintendents. There was 5 of them in there. And so at the end of the day, those 5 guys said, hey, us superintendents, we're going to stay on. We want to talk to you. I'm thinking, oh, what did I do? So everybody else gets off and they go, hey, Rusty, we just want you to know, we've been doing this for 25 and 30 years now, and you blew us away today. We learned things from you we didn't even have any idea that we were capable of doing. He said the safety stuff, we've never seen the safety stuff. Now, we had a lot of people injured, but we've never seen anything like this. They said, in fact, what we want to do, if it's okay with you, is we're going to go back to HR and say, when you hire people for us, you make this mandatory onboarding training. You run them through this class before you put them in the field, because they'll be advanced by 5 or 6 years. They'll know stuff. They'll walk out of here knowing stuff. So we get them, we can communicate with them properly. They'll know all the terminologies. In fact, we have a lot of salespeople that go through my program that sell product because they can't talk to these guys in the field because they don't know how it all works. And so we have a lot of people that do that.
I was going to say that's also something that is needed because the same way we're seeing this huge exodus of longtime operators leaving the industry, we're seeing the longtime salesmen leave the industry also. Absolutely. And these younger salesmen coming in. Like when I got into the industry, I didn't even know what a sewer truck was. I mean, you're talking dung beetles. I'm like, I didn't know what moving poop down line was. So, but I was blessed to be able to ride with the guy who's been in the industry for 30 years. And
there you go.
I literally rode with him as an apprentice for a whole year. And the stuff that I learned from him was like next to, you can't train this stuff in a book or on a PowerPoint. Just we're out in the field and he's showing guys what they're doing right, what they're doing wrong, and I'm just soaking it all up. So it kind of advanced me in that regard. But I think this is great for everybody who wants to get in the industry, whether you're on the sales side, whether they're on the operational side, whether you're coming in as like a public works director, a supervisor. I think people should always hop in and I mean, like one of the most powerful things somebody could do is do a ride along. Just hop in a truck with the guy and go see what he does, and get your eyes on it. Get sprayed by some mist.
Absolutely.
So in closing, I wanted to offer, or I wanted to say, or allow you to say, what problems you solve. So let's say there's 150 people listening to this, and they say, well, Rusty, what exactly do you do? We heard everything that you do, but what problem do you exactly solve for a city, and who would be the best contact for them to get you in touch with?
Okay, now this is what's happening right now. I get phone calls periodically, like once a month, and they'll say, hey, can you come train my people, Rusty? I go, when you want me to come? They say, next week. That's always that's a red flag. I said, who got hurt? Tell me what happened. I said, why do you say that? I said, cities don't move that fast. Tell me what happened. I said, got a call from City of Austin. They said, can you come train my people on plugging? I said, yeah. They said, when? I said, next week. And I know all their people. I've spent a lot of time with them. I said, did any of them get hurt? They said, no, it wasn't our people. It was a contractor. A local contractor was here. He was pulling an 18-inch plug out of a line that had 20 foot of head on it, which is about 3,000 or 4,000 pounds of pressure on the backside. He had his arm wrapped with the rope. He's 250 pounds, same size guy as me. When the plug went out, he went with the plug. The hydraulic force carried him 6.2 miles to the treatment plant, crushed him into an 18-inch pipe. Now, that happens a lot. You don't hear about it because it's just a worker's death. But I tracked this stuff. And that was just a few months ago, the City of Austin. And so, like I got a call from the city the other day. They said, hey, can you come train our people? I said, yeah, what happened? They said, well, the nozzle came out and smacked the guy, tore him all up. I said, so tell me what happened after that took place, when the attorney showed up. Tell me what happened. They said, well, here's how it went down. They came to us, walked in. The first thing they wanted was our documented training program, where these guys were trained to use this high pressure truck and nozzles. And I said, you didn't have it, did you? They said, no, we didn't. They said, it only took about 5 minutes to realize we just need to write them out a check. So they wrote them out a check. And that happens every month. I get these phone calls, exactly what they're doing, because they have documented training. And so two things at play here. It's not fair to the operator, who you put on a piece of equipment that could kill you in the blink of an eye, and don't give them the proper training. It's not fair to them, and it's not fair to the taxpayer who's going to pay that bill once they get injured. And it can all be potentially avoided through proper training. And if they're properly trained and it's documented, where they've been tested, like we did for the city of Houston, then when that accident happens, then we could upgrade the program and maybe cover that, or maybe it was just bad choices on the operator's, his part. But now the liability has been reduced because you did give the guy a fighting chance to understand how to use the equipment. And so that's why we're starting to develop these programs for the big trucks. It's all video based, because you get that big Vector manual. It's like freaking 4 inches thick. Have you ever tried to read through one?
Nobody reads it.
It's written by engineers for engineers.
Yeah.
I develop these things, and every time I get into that thing, I'm thinking, what were they thinking when they put this together? Nobody's going to read this. It doesn't even make sense to me. So yeah, that's the best thing you can do. And we help cities set up programs. They want to call us, we'll walk them through it. Say, okay, here, you want to go find somebody to do it? We'll give you the stuff to tell you, give you the information to how to properly set up a program. Or if you want us to try and build it, but I'm like a year behind on building programs. I got a guy from Disney. I got a guy from Disney working for me now. He can actually shrink me down and put me inside of a nozzle. It's gonna be so cool. So yeah, so we're covered up building those programs as well. I got a Camel we're building. We just finished the Gap Vac. I got a VacCon program that we're building. We just finished up the 900 Eco program, and we're doing the Camel Super Products program. So I got all those in the hopper right now. We're trying to get through all that. It's all manuals. It's a 300-page manual that goes with the 8-hour video that you go through with testing. So if you put a person through that program, they will know how to properly operate that piece of equipment. And then our 102 program is on the backside of that, how to use that equipment to actually clean pipe with and be safe.
Love it. Love it. Well, Rusty, thanks for hopping on the show and sharing your passions with us. Again, it's refreshing to hear how passionate you are about this stuff. I always say the coolest thing about working around these trucks is that they're large enough to kill us in a second. And men like that stuff. We like that, right?
Oh, yeah.
But I guess the downfall of working around these things is they can kill us in a second, and I appreciate how passionate you are about getting guys home safe. So
that's the thing that we don't realize is that, the ride-alongs, Joe, if we could just get a director in a truck for a day, let him go out there and see what these folks do every day out there in the sewer, cleaning the sewer, they'd have more of an appreciation for them. Because, I come into cities, I said, these guys need this and this and this. They go, they don't need that, man. They're just jetting sewer. They're just sewer cleaners. Boy, I gotta maintain my composure. But if we could just get those guys out there to do some ride-alongs, like you said, I think that would change a lot of thoughts about who these people are and what they do.
Sure thing. Well, Rusty, thanks for hopping on. To all the listeners out there, make sure you share this with somebody who you think needs to hear it. If you got some collections guys in your city, in your department, and you feel like they need to get a system set up, make sure they reach out to Rusty. I'll put all this information in the description. Rusty, any final words before we get out of here?
Well, our website is nezat.com. We're in the process of rebuilding it, but it's still up right now. So you can go to nezat.com. You know what? I don't even have a problem. And, I'm going to give you all my phone number. This is my personal cell number. So if you're out there and you hear this pod and you're interested in helping your people in the field, if you're really interested in helping them, please give me a call. So my number is 281-788-5221. And so feel free to call me. I'll even send you some of those little dung beetle stickers that the guys can put on their hard hats. They love them.
Love it. Well, Rusty, once again, thanks for hopping on. Looking forward to our paths crossing in the future. You're doing a great thing out there. All the listeners out there, thank you for tuning in once again. This has been the Public Works Podcast.